Good evening. I'd like to call the April 24th Town Board meeting to order. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dodson?
Present.
Mr. Mastriani?
Present.
Mrs. Galucci?
Present.
Mr. Schwab?
Present.
And Mrs. Collins?
Present.
5 present.
Thank you, Ms. Marco. A quorum is present. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Gephardt, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For anyone who has not attended a town board meeting and wishes to speak either under the public hearing or under privilege of the floor, I ask you to please use the sign-in sheet that's located by the entrance to the boardroom. If you do not sign in, you will not be allowed to speak at the public hearing or the privilege of the floor. And I will keep the sheet out until after our presentation. So tonight, we're thrilled to have Mr. Jim Schaefer, PhD, our town historian, who will present a short story about the Rotterdam Hills and New York's first alpine ski mountain in the 1930s.
Please move forward. Please have come forward so you can see it. Well, this is great. Thank you so much for inviting me. I understand the word short, so I'll try to keep it within 15 minutes. I think many of you have appreciated the western part of Rotterdam, which has a very high mountain called Jan-Putschenberg. And it was the woodlot of Jan Mabie, where he bought land in 1680. Let's see if I can advance. So 24,000 years ago, we were covered with ice. It was a little over a mile deep, and it moved back and forth, melting and freezing, and ground Jan-Putschenberg from its higher level to 1,300 feet roughly, which is what it is today. So the Schenectady sandstone and the Schenectady shale was broken down and moved horizontally by the glacier. 15,000 years ago, Lake Iroquois was held back by an ice dam right around Little Falls. And that dam broke, sending 50 to 100 feet of water eastward down the Mohawk Valley, gouging, ripping, and taking everything in its path until it got to Lake Albany, which you can see on the right. So Jan-Putschenberg was there. It was affected to the extent that 100 feet up it was affected, but basically it was still there. The important thing is, with the boulders and the gravel and the sand and the silt that came down the valley with the meltwater, formed our aquifer. So Jan-Putschenberg has the aquifer right below it. 10 to 1,500 years ago, Paleo-Indians hunted and foraged in our area. The Algonquian and Iroquois people migrated here. Here's a handful of arrowheads that I picked up on the flats below my house, and some pottery and net sinkers that are also in proliferation in the flats. Jan-Putschenberg was the easternmost of the Iroquois lands. And here you can see a depiction on the right of the villages that were marked by the early British and Dutch explorers who were looking for a way to find beaver. And the easternmost extreme of those villages is where Jan-Putschenberg is located. So Jan-Putschenberg was the easternmost landmark of the Iroquois lands. The European missionaries and explorers visited the Mohawk villages that were all lined up along the flats. The Turnbull site, which is located on the northwest flank of Yanaputchaberg, is a historically important archaeological site because it is stratified. It has many, many layers showing 1,000 years of occupation. Later, Iroquois folks were living there. We think that the Yanaputchaberg itself was an outpost for watching people moving up and down the valley all the time. Probably during the Revolutionary War it was an outpost. Probably some artifacts are up in the meadows. The first European settlers, of course, were Dutch farmers in the middle 1600s. Arent van Curler of the West Dutch Indian Company explored the land west of Beverwyck, which is Albany, and saw a vast forested area through which a meandering, beautiful river was found on either side, framed by the Yanaputchaberg on the south and Tura Nura on the north. He was moved to write to his superiors of this place as the most beautiful land the eye of man ever beheld. In 1661, of course, Schenectady was formed. And on the right-hand side, you can see the kind of agreement that the Iroquois made with the Dutch. This was signed by symbols of the Turtle Clan and the Wolf Clan. So that's a typical kind of land agreement, if you will, which is a totally bizarre kind of thing from the Indian point of view. They used the land, they did not have contracts. When they were done using the land, they moved on. The Dutch, however, brought old world law with them. And of course, there had to have some kind of an agreement in writing. In 1680, Jan Mabie and his wife moved west of Shawnee, which is the area around the Great Flats of today, and bought property from Martin van Antwerpen on the edge of the Mohawk River. From this was the Woestijn, the wilderness that was wild with animals and forest land and brush. And for the next 3 centuries, their descendants, the Mabie descendants, continued to farm along the river there. And the mountain is called Yanaputchaberg. Yanta, Yan, Pucha, woodlot, Berg, mountain, Yanaputchaberg. In 1931, my dad and his brother envisioned a long path from New York City to the top of Whiteface Mountain. And it exists on paper. And it is a blazed trail to Thatcher Park. And it's a bushwhack, basically, and low volume road walk north of Thatcher Park. Landmark 31 is the top of Yanaputchaberg. And since the owner of the top had a little conversation with me about visitors coming there, I moved the landmark down to the Mabie farm. Here's the bottom line for today. Yanaputchaberg is the start of New York's alpine skiing and its multi-million-dollar ski industry. In the late 1920s, my dad and his friends, Bill Gleasing and other people, found great skiing on the slopes of Yanaputchaberg. In 1930, they arranged an annual lease of the land from the owners who lived in Rotterdam Junction. The cost of the lease was $16.25 a year. During the time that they had the lease, they cleared underbrush and small trees to make a network of downhill ski trails. They designed trails with all ski levels in mind. The centerpiece was the Quarry Trail, recognized as the earliest downhill run in New York State. Yana Pooch, as it was called, attracted skiers from all over, North Creek to Boston. Easy access by car, bus, or trolley, just a few miles from Schenectady. Here is a map showing the trails. If you can see in the very middle a dark line that goes straight down the hill, that's the Quarry Trail. A very challenging, steep trail, which was where they did all the races. The other trails were for intermediate and beginning skiers. The practice slopes were on the lowest part of the hill. Here we have Bill Gleasing waxing his skis and then climbing. There were no surface lifts, no rope tow at this time. So Bill would climb and all the others had to climb from the parking lot by the railroad tracks up to the top where the trail started. Here's the Quarry Trail. It was designed at the end by Otto Schneebs, famous German ski instructor who migrated here in the middle 1920s. It was said to be the steepest ski run in the East. The only rival to Yanuputcheberg Quarry Trail was the nosedive on Mount Mansfield. Schenectady racers are listed here, including Olympian Dot Hoyt, who was there from the very beginning, and during the middle 30s, Dick Durrance, another famous Olympian and fantastic downhill skier. And Dan O'Keefe from North Creek raced on Yanuputcheberg. They hosted the 1936 high school meet, which had many of the high schools in the area coming to ski. All sorts of fun. Here is a picture of my dad cresting out by the meadow. Kind of looks like he's out of control. Another guy doing stem Christie. And here you have a collage of some of the experts jumping and doing Galundasprungs and other kinds of high-speed turns. And then on the right is one of the novice runs. Very gentle, very accommodating for novices. And they made turns in order to control their speed, which is the whole key to skiing. And GE engineers, who were part of the original group with my dad and others, decided to put metal edges on skis in order to help edge. And so it was the testing ground for metal edges. And the guinea pig was Olympian Dot Hoyt. And the first pair, the metal edge went the full length of the ski, and it was a disaster. So what they ended up doing was breaking it up into 6-inch sections, which made the ski more flexible. And of course, not every run is successful. So you go back to the practice slopes. Immediately after Yanuputcheberg was making its name, the Schenectady Winter Sports Club was formed in 1932, right after the Olympics. My dad and others and his friends formed a club, and their dedicated purpose was to get snow trains moving from Schenectady to destinations like Wilmington, Vermont, or North Creek, or the Catskills. And they arranged for a snow train in 1932, but just like this year, there was no snow. And so they had to cancel it. They did not lose energy, however. They got over 150 signatures on the petition, and they were able to get snow trains going in 1934. Here's the first snow train, which again, lack of snow, but finally there was a dump of snow in the Adirondacks in February, and so they were able to get the snow train going on March 4th, 1934, 90 years ago. We held a big celebration about the 90th, and that's over with now because March 4th has passed. But it was a big celebration. And here's what it looked like when the trains arrived. Lots of town folks, all providing hospitality, especially rides in the back of their trucks up to the top of the road that led to the mines at the top of Peak Gay Mountain and Gore Mountain, where they were able to climb a little bit and then ski down runs that were 4 to 5 miles long. Just unheard of lengths. So the alpine skiing, by which we mean downhill skiing, starts in Yanapuchaberg and blossoms in North Creek. The Schenectady force, with experience in trail design, joined the North Creek ski enthusiasts and helped build 4 to 5 mile long trails on Gore with a ski bowl near the town for snow train skiers. The snow trains from Schenectady and even New York City brought thousands of ski enthusiasts from 1934 to 1939, when the war basically stopped everything. Carl Schaefer, my uncle, built a rope tow in North Creek. It was the first in the state in 1935. My mother, Lois Parrott Schaefer, headed up a safety patrol, or ski patrol, the first in the country in 1933. Goldstock and Cunningham families opened stores for ski equipment in both North Creek and Schenectady. Gore Mountain became a ski resort in 1964 with a rope tow, a T-bar, chairlifts, and gondolas. And in 1981, Orda was formed with Gore, Whiteface, and Bel Air Mountains as their centerpiece. How about the 21st century? What's going to happen? Yanapuchaberg is still there, beautiful rural mountain. Here's one way of looking at it. The picture, of course, is all photovoltaic cells. I borrowed that picture, I took that picture just this week over on Route 30. But it may be what we're looking at. It's a multi-year lease by the owner of a 20 megawatt facility. The design calls for removing vast areas of native forest, covering steep slopes on Yanapuchaberg with tons of gravel to support 100 plus solar panels. Promoted today as a, quote, passive, quiet, and low impact use of the land, with minimal visual disturbance regarding neighbors and the surrounding roadways. Remember, at the base of Yanapuchaberg is our aquifer. Here's a picture in 1940 of the mining of the area near Lower Rotterdam Junction and Rotterdam Junction. You can see the Erie Canal on the right and the railroad tracks on the left and the fields just a little bit south of the Mabee Farm. And 5S is in between the railroad tracks and that big open field. Schenectady County is losing forest lands. Did I hear it right? That this 20 megawatt solar farm plans to clear cut 100 plus acres of forest. With 150 plus or minus acres of trees per acre, you can do the math, about 15,000 trees. And each tree produces 250 liters of oxygen, absorbs 75 grams of CO2, and transpires 100 gallons of water to make clouds and other things. Clear cutting is a direct threat to our water supply. To me, this project is disregarding the comprehensive plan. And I quote here, number 3, page 19, says, the plan is to conserve the rural character of Western Rotterdam and rural hamlets, including Rotterdam Junction and Pattersonville. By rural, we expect reasonable open space instead of getting fences and glass panels. Scenic areas ending up paged and limited. Natural areas instead of getting cleared by cutting and slashing. Intact ecosystems that are going to be disturbed. Conserving the rural character. Really? And featuring rich history? I don't think so. But there are alternatives. Yantapuchberg could become a national and state historic site where alpine skiing started in New York. The New York State Office of Parks and Recreation has a program that I have been working with to try to get the designation as a national historic site. The benefits, of course, could be a tax relief to the people that own the mountain today. And we know that in 1930, the Yantapuchberg Skiing Center led directly to the snow trains. And the snow trains led directly to having surface lifts and chair lifts and gondolas that were able to start the Gore Mountain Resort. And Orda, of course, is an established state facility with 3 mountains. It is a huge, huge system that we have. It all started at Yantapuchberg. Another thing we could do with the will is take some of that money that has been promised by the state, the $300 million allocated for open spaces and land conservation, put together by the state of New York. And the question is, do we have the will to start the process, or is it too late? So here we have Yantapuchberg, and it's preserve Jan Navy's woodlot. Will it be there all the way to 2080? Thank you. And we'll have informal discussion out there so you guys can have a meeting.
Sounds good. Good job. Really good presentation. And to be honest with you, probably a lot of us learned about our own history here in Rotterdam, even though we grew up here. So thank you to Mr. Schaefer for that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we have one public hearing tonight. We'll now open public hearing number 1. The clerk will read.
There's nobody that signed up for that.
What do you want?
You want to read what it's for?
Oh, I'm sorry. To recognize introduction of introductory local law blank of 2024 to amend section 266-46 entitled Schedule 6, Stop Intersections of the Code of the Town of Rotterdam for the addition of stop signs along the Edgewood Avenue intersections of Kenmore Avenue, Marengo Street, and Delaware Avenue. And nobody signed up.
Then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes to close.
Resolution, motion passes, wow. I now open up privilege of the floor. Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Kelly Witherspoon?
Please remember to keep your remarks to 4 minutes. I'll raise my hand when you're at 3.5 minutes, and I'll hit the gavel when it's done.
Kelly, that's a new one, so if you just,
I don't need to.
but I'm saying they have to.
This is in regards to a new water tax we're hearing we're gonna get again. Why not post the expected cost per homeowner in the Water District 3 and 4 before the informational meeting on the town website? The meeting notice states that additional information would be available for viewing at the clerk's office. This information is important and should be posted. And Rotterdam Junction cannot afford another tax on our water. We're paying hundreds of dollars already every year. So Mr. Dodson, I know you're the water man, tax. This, we cannot, nobody's gonna pay any more money. I pay $6,000 a year in your water tax.
Shit.
Thank you.
Robert DeFonte? I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Robert
Oh,
DeSantis.
DeSantis, I'm sorry.
I live on 2703 Wellington Avenue, Rotterdam, with my wife and our 2 kids. We've lived there for over 30 years.
You pull that closer.
I was here regarding the public resolution that just passed. So since it passed, I'll be brief. But I was
It didn't, sorry, just,
That was just-
it didn't pass, it would just close the public hearing.
close the public hearing. Okay, I'm here to support that resolution.
That's my fault. When you said stop sign, I didn't realize you meant that.
That's what I meant.
All right,
Sorry
sorry.
for the miscommunication, but I'm here to support it. Again, I've lived in Rotterdam off of Edgewood Avenue for the past 30-plus years. I've had incidents on Edgewood as far as road rage with my car. There's three streets that intersect Edgewood Avenue: Kenmore, Delaware, and there's one more, Marengo. Those are the only 3 streets off of Edgewood that do not have any sort of traffic sign. All the other streets on Edgewood have some sort of traffic sign where they come to a T with Edgewood. Those are the only 3 streets. I've had road rage where people would just wander through one of those 3 streets and come onto Edgewood without stopping, since there's no sign there. That was an uncomfortable situation, us getting out of our car, the other person getting out of their car. Luckily, nothing happened. We moved on. We've had incidents walking and also biking on Edgewood where cars just roll through the intersection. It's also, Edgewood is a school bus route. School buses go down Edgewood Avenue every day. Kids cross the street from Edgewood onto one of the other side streets, namely these 3 also. And again, all the other streets coming into Edgewood all the way down all have some sort of traffic signal except these streets. So I'm here to fully support it. We've had incidents. Hopefully with these 3 stop signs installed, it'll lead to a safer environment for the rest of the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gary Fox?
My name is Gary Fox. I live at 2185 Lynn Street. First, thank you for allowing me to appear here. The last time I was here, I was complaining about a house that's on Lynn Street. It's 2188 Lynn Street. For those that don't remember, that's where they had a 6-yard dumpster of garbage that they just dumped into the driveway because the people wouldn't pay for the dumpster to be hauled away. That house is still in deterioration. I've heard it's condemned, I've heard it's sold, I heard it's being auctioned off, I heard it's going to be torn down. There's Technically, there's nobody living in there because it's condemned, but there's people going in there day and night, every single day. I don't know what's going on with that house, and no matter who I talk to, nobody seems to know what's going on. They have an unregistered car out there in the middle of the driveway. It moves from time to time in the middle of the night. People are driving it in the middle of the night, and it always ends up on their front lawn. Don't know anything about that either, who's driving it or anything else. But last year, the town came in and they kind of cleaned up the whole area after the dumpster incident, which most of the neighborhood was very pleased in what they did. However, that was one day out of the entire year. It's springtime. Most people are mowing their lawns already. All I'm asking is if the town is going to take care of that property again, which somebody should clean it up again, I wish they would do it more frequently, let's put it that way. My next subject is, the last time I spoke here, there was a gentleman here from Beverly Street that was complaining about the motorcycles going up and down the street. All right? That's still going on, because for some strange reason, and it's legal, that this board allowed a motorcycle repair shop to be built in the middle of a residential area. Now, I have sympathy for the mechanics that work there. It's springtime, everybody's bringing in their motorcycles to get repaired. They have to test them, I understand that. Now, why it's in a residential area, I don't know. But it is, that's only commercial place probably in a half a mile from the residence. I wish somebody would just talk to these people and just say, I understand that you have to make sure that the thing is repaired, but you don't have to go up Beverly Street or Lynn Street or the other streets in the area, literally at 50 and 60 miles an hour. And all of these motorcycles, the only thing they work on are Harleys. And if you know anything about a motorcycle, it is not a quiet motorcycle. And they're revving the engines, driving up and down the street. And I know they're testing them. They don't have helmets on or anything else. They go up the Curry Road, they turn around, they come back. So obviously, I don't want the place shut down. It's people's business. But if somebody could just talk to them and say, at least go to speed limit, or if you really want to get going faster, go out to Guilderland Avenue or go out to Curry Road to do your final testing. The last subject I want to speak on is the District 2 fire station. What is going on with that? That's been torn up for 2 years. They built a building, a concrete slab, they dug it all up. They put it down again, they built a building on top of that slab. They tore the slab up a second time. They put a third slab down there. They built a building, it was almost done. Well, first they rotated it. They had it partially built. They rotated the building at the District 2 fire station. Then, unfortunately, it was almost finished and it caught fire.
I'm sorry.
And it burnt down.
I appreciate it, and I don't like to interrupt, but you're at your 4 minutes.
Okay.
But I think we understand.
Okay, thank you very much. One last thing on a fire station. That's our tax money going in there, and we don't even know what's going on. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Robert Steddy?
Stoddard? Close enough.
Stoddard, thank you.
I was educated at Mahoneson, so my penmanship may not be that
Well,
good.
that's the worst. If you bring that nice and close to you like this, that will be really good that people can hear you.
Okay, good evening.
There you go.
As I said, my name is Robert Stoddard. I've been a lifelong resident of Rotterdam. I still live here. My parents live here. I see the signs. It's a nice place to live, all that stuff. I, like the gentleman before me, have a problem with some noise level. I'm a local attorney. I represent some business owners on Altamont Avenue who have a problem with the car wash across from Burger King. On any given day, a summer day, a nice day, the cars pull in, doors are open, hatches are open, and the music blares. I think we've all been at a traffic light where a car pulls up either behind us or alongside of us, and the boom, boom, boom is going, and your car is shaking, and you can't wait for the car to get out of there so that you can have some peace and quiet. Imagine trying to run a jewelry business with that going on. It's nonstop. It's constant. I learned that it's a violation of the noise ordinance, carries a minimum of a $500 fine. To this day, I don't think a single ticket's been issued to anyone who has been blasting their music while my clients are trying to conduct business. They've called code, they've called the police, they've called the owners of the shop, we've called corporate. I, myself personally, have gone when the music is blaring and asked the employee to enforce the sign that's on the building that says keep the music down. He shrugged his shoulders at me and went back inside the building. There's nothing I can do. There is something you can do. You can start writing tickets. I bet you that if people started getting tickets at $500 a pop, the word would get out and this disruption would stop. Enough is enough. I'm asking you, my clients are asking you, what can we do to keep the noise level down? They have a little tiny sign about the size of this on their wall that says you can't play loud music, but then they do nothing to enforce it. I reviewed all of the definitions. One of the definitions is that anyone that permits or allows the loud music is guilty of the violation. If the shop owner doesn't want to keep his clientele quiet, then start issuing tickets to the shop owner. At $500 a pop, he might start to enforce the rule. And then people going into the jewelry store and my clients trying to conduct business there wouldn't have to do it with the boom, 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 boom. My clients record, they have video, they have license plate numbers, and just in this past week, from April 13th to April 17th, there have been 3 incidents where these things go on. It's not a 911 emergency, so you can't call 911. You call the Rotterdam Police Department 9 times out of 10 because they don't have a physical person there. You get a recording. By the time the police show up, the perpetrators are long gone, and it's not just one. They got one guy over here, one guy over here, one guy over here, and they're all blasting their music. We're begging you, please do something so it stops. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon Terrellian.
Supervisor Collins, I appreciated what you did at the last meeting by changing the rules in midstream that you violated. Appreciate that. That was really, really cute. All right, just bear with me. In 1915, the Ottoman Empire conducted a genocide on 1.5 million Armenians. Today is Armenian Martyr Day. In 1945, Hitler, while planning a Holocaust on the Jewish population, said, and I quote, "Who today remembers the Armenians?" Please remember those 2 dates. Now we're here in 2024. This is just a partial list of what this administration has done so far. Because I was told by a part-time employee of this town that I have no right to be angry at you guys or upset. But prior to his being an employee, he was fine with everything I was doing. So I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid you guys are giving these town employees. Several studies have been done at approximately $50,000 each. To what end results? I don't know. Now we're going to concentrate on Water District 5. The Chalmont students in 2023 did a study which included water meters. Mr. Prusto at that meeting said there was no talks about meters. This board lied to us, especially to Water District 5. Santa Barbara sent out flyers about the water meters in Water District 5. Mr. Mastriani, hi, you said it was fake news. Again, we were lied. I don't know how many times you guys are going to lie to us. I don't know. Mr. Mastriani said that the town does not need to listen to the DEC. Your exact words, sir. Another lie, your exact words. You keep shaking that. Go look on YouTube. Another lie. This town applied for 2 grants for Water District 5 at 10 million each, to no avail. The first one was denied because it was an incomplete application, even though Supervisor Collins said that the state ran out of money, which is another lie. The second application, I don't know what happened, why we didn't get that. Why we didn't get 2 $5 million grants, I have no idea. Again, this board has misled the residents of Water District 5 about residents/users, about the 4,000 plus 50, if not more, that was not accounted for. Supervisor Collins blames it on miscommunication. Mr. Dobson, you explained it. You went around it, over it, under it, to confuse the residents. There's more, which will be at next time meeting. But what really upsets me is what you, Supervisor Collins, did 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, you set a precedent over a year ago that we could speak, and all of a sudden, you stopped it. And I'm not a conspiracist, but I'm just wondering if that was your way of shutting me up that day and future town meetings, because you poked the wrong bear.
You forgot your water.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor Sanju?
Shucks. What was I saying? I don't know what to say.
If you
My
could,
first time kind of doing this.
if you could just, yeah, so that we can hear you with that, if you go close
Okay.
to that.
Yeah, I'm the owner for 2175 Tower Avenue. I was just hoping to get your support on my zone change for building my storage garage. I'm store my trucks in the winter and stuff like
I
that.
can't hear you.
You gotta talk.
Oh.
You're close.
Is that better?
Keep going.
Closer? No. I'm gonna kiss it. Closer? No, yeah. Yeah, I was just hoping to get your support for building my storage garage to park my trucks over the winter and stuff like that. So that was just about it. Kind of nervous.
That's okay.
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's nobody else that can just read this. This is respectfully from Desiree Mather. Firstly, I would like to apologize for not being able to make the last meeting. I work late as mental health clinician on Wednesdays, which makes it difficult to attend town meetings. I did, however, watch the meeting on YouTube, and as I often do, and would ask that you consider my input in the matter of 2175 Tower Avenue being zoned as commercial so a garage can be built on it. I have lived at 2100 Tower Avenue for 8.5 years, and I am a lifelong resident of Rotterdam. I love this town, and I love my neighborhood even more. We carefully chose where we wanted to live in hopes of giving our school-age children a place to grow where they feel safe and have a sense of duty and responsibility for those around them. Tower Avenue is filled with families who care about one another and genuinely look out for each other's well-being. I am so honored to be able to live here. Every school day I gather with some of the other moms and grandmothers to put our kids on the bus. We support each other during the challenging times and celebrate during the good times. Mr. Sarju and his family are a part of this community and have contributed to the many improvements to this street since they moved in. They cleared their lot at 2175 Tower Avenue, which provided improved visibility when making a left onto Chrysler Avenue. Prior to this, the trees had become overgrown and dangerously obstructed views. They meticulously maintain their property, paying attention to detail. They care about their neighbors and are consistently offering to help anyone of us in time of need. As a resident of this street, I have absolutely no opposition to their lot being zoned commercially so we can build a garage to house his trucks. I have never once been delayed due to a truck pulling in or out of their property. I have never witnessed any dangerous traffic situations due to the trucks being parked on their lot. I have never been inconvenienced by anything and find it ridiculous there is opposition for a garage being built on a property they pay taxes on. As for Mr. Rossi and Mr. DeFelice's concerns, there is also another outlet that they can use on Shireen Court residents. They can easily access both Chrysler and Hamburg Street from Central Avenue right off of Lawn Avenue. This is actually a quicker outlet for those who live in Shereen Court. I, for one, would like to think, as a town, we would be supporting our neighbors who are looking to better their properties as well as provide an honest living for their families. These trucks allow them to work, pay taxes, and put food on the table. Living in Northeast in order to preserve the trucks, it is necessary to keep them undercover. As for the 2 Shereen Court residents who are opposing and complaining multiple times about this family, I encourage them to get to know them. If they, for a second thought, them building a garage would put others at risk, cause accidents, or even inconvenience, they would not have even proposed that the property be zoned for it. This is the kind of people they are. This is the kind of people who our community needs. I ask that if you need more information or need more notice of support, please let me know. I'm happy to gather names and signatures in favor of the zoning change. The majority of us are 100% supportive of this change and this family. Respectfully, Desiree Mather. That's it.
Are there any more emails?
Nope. Mr. himself, he already spoke, so I don't know if he went, did he leave?
What about this one that you gave us?
What is it? The short one? Oh, let me see. I gave it to somebody who didn't have it.
Oh.
All right, so this was an email that was sent. It says, "Town board session, please." From the Trumpster, super Trumpster man at gmail.com. Since the town board majority and attorney refuses to do their jobs and pursue legal maneuvers to remove the alien, oh my God, presence on Curry Road, they should all resign immediately to allow competent, patriotic, conservative Republican persons to take over and protect Rotterdam from inevitable crime, which we now see nationwide every day. Calvin J. Bates.
Sorry, because I gave one to somebody who didn't have it.
Are there any other emails, Diane?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, and I'm closing privilege of the floor, and we'll start with our resolutions. Our first resolution is Resolution 179 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To accept town board meeting minutes.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci on the question. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 180 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To appoint Sarah Hunt to the position of confidential assistant to the comptroller.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I think I heard Mrs. Galucci first. All right, Mrs. Galucci made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson on the question. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 181 of the year 2024. Before the clerk reads it, even though you're not appointing my husband on this resolution, he is on it, so I'm recusing myself and I leave the platform. And you can take over.
And I will recuse myself, given Megan Griffin is on that as well.
Ms. Harko, will you read?
Sure. To amend Resolution 18.24 of the year 2024, appoint Frederick Waller as a senior citizen center backup bus driver.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Mastriani,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Ms. Galucci. On the question? No question? Ms. Marco, will you call the roll?
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag and Mrs. Collins recuse themselves, correct?
Correct. Resolution passes.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All set, Mark. Next resolution is Resolution 182 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To accept bid and award contract for on-call maintenance contract services.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Schlag. Clerk, any on the question? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 183 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To appoint Joel Miller as the director of the Town of Rotterdam's Jazz Band for the 2024 Summer Concert Series.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani on the question. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 184 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To appoint Michael Solomon as the director of the Town of Rotterdam's Town Band for the 2024 Summer Concert Series.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani,
Second the motion?
second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 185 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Lavella Associates for the Philomena Apartments Sewer Connections Sewer District Number 7, Extension Number 2 project.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I think I heard Mr. Schlad. Okay.
I'm sorry, who was it?
Motion by Mr. Schlad,
Thank you,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Dodson.
thank you.
On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 186 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To enact introductory local law number 7 of 2024 to amend section 266-46 entitled Schedule 6 Stop Intersections of the Code of the Town of Rotterdam for the addition of stop signs along Edgewood Avenue intersections of Kenmore Avenue, Marengo Street, and Delaware Avenue.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mrs. Galucci. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I think I heard Mr. Dodson first.
Okay.
Right. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 187 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To authorize change order number 7 and number 8 with Bunkoff General Contractors, Inc. for the Rotterdam Town Hall renovations.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 188 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To enact introductory local law number 3 of 2024 to amend chapter 270 zoning of the town code for a change of zone of approximately plus or minus 0.35 acres from single-family residential R1 to light industrial I1 located at the corner of Tower Avenue and Chrysler Avenue. Tax map number 59.7-10-1.12 to facilitate the construction of a plus or minus 2,000 square foot storage garage.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Molly, I just want to give some input into this. I have talked to plenty of the neighbors in the cul-de-sac surrounding, and I just want you to know they're very supportive of you. And so I don't want you to think that your neighbors don't appreciate what you're trying to do and building a building and putting your trucks inside there. So they were all supportive today. I spent quite a bit of time talking to them.
Okay.
And so you should feel good about that. And we're thrilled when businesses come in and do the right thing.
I appreciate it.
So I think they have some safety issues, but we can address that maybe at the next step in planning.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sargent, can I ask a few questions for you too?
Sure.
When did you purchase the property?
2016?
And when did you start, and what kind of business are you in? What do
Dump
you-
trucks?
Dump trucks?
Yeah, and tractor trailers.
You dump material or you,
I built like grills. I work with Callahan and Louis Brothers and stuff like that. Subcontract out.
You use your dump trucks as a subcontractor for hauling and moving
Yeah.
material and things like that. You also have tractor trailers,
Yeah, just one.
and what do you haul with the tractor trailer?
Just goods, like home goods, grocery stores. and stuff.
Dry storage,
Yeah. What's that?
dry storage, not
Yeah.
refrigerated.
Yeah.
And when did you start operating the trucking business?
About 10 years ago. But
Prior to purchasing this property?
Yeah, I used to live down in New York City.
And you operated the business from the city?
Yeah, then I moved up here.
And the property is zoned residential, and have you been operating the business in the entirety of the last 8 years since you purchased the property
Not
on that
entirely.
location?
Not entirely, I used to park somewhere else. And then I bought this.
You bought this property in 2016?
No, it was a house I bought in 2015. The land that I bought, I can't remember, but I bought it afterwards.
And you've been operating there ever since?
I just parked there, I don't operate nothing there or anything, it's just parking.
And when did you purchase the tractor trailer?
About a year ago,
And
year and a half ago.
And do you have challenge, making that turn?
No, I don't. And it's not, it doesn't come in and out every day. So it comes in for like a month and then it leaves for about 2 months. So it doesn't move every day. Once it comes, it just parks up.
Okay. And the garage that you seek to build will store the tractor trailer as well
If it
as?
fit, yeah.
What's that?
If it can fit, yeah, I would put it in there.
Have you kind of marked out what the land you want to build on would be, or how many square feet, or how many trucks you want to store?
Well, I'm doing all of that with the builder, so. He's,
You have a builder?
yeah. I
And you
guess
plan on,
it's-
you plan on storing the tractor and the trailer inside the garage?
Yeah, I'll try to.
It's a lot. How big is the trailer? 53 feet?
53 foot.
So that's,
I can leave the trailer outside.
So you're packed.
when I first looked at this, I thought your access was going to be right on Chrysler Avenue. Have you guys explored being able to get in and out right from Chrysler Avenue rather than Tower Ave?
I didn't explore that, no.
There's like a gully there, correct? Yeah, so that would be difficult, but you could maybe construct a bridge or something to that effect.
Okay.
You're gonna have to get DOT approval first.
Okay,
But I can look into it.
okay.
So this particular session is for zoning
Only.
only?
Yes, only.
Okay, so the
Planning will handle.
planning, when you go there, they'll help you, navigate that piece of it and maybe make some changes to accommodate the neighborhood, but this particular session is just for zoning.
Okay.
Okay?
And the changes, so.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Again, you own property there, and that's your residence, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and this property is adjacent to your residence, correct? So do you live in the house that's adjacent to this property that you're trying to develop?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long you been there? 2016?
Yeah, the house, yeah.
Okay. Are you running a business there currently relative to the trucking, working subcontracting with Callahan?
No.
Okay. So at this point in time, you're just parking your vehicles there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have employees that come there and drive the trucks away to do the subcontracting work, and then, so are you who's driving the tractor trailer?
Me and my brother.
Okay, so do you just drive the tractor trailer, then you're done with that, and you jump into dump trucks and work for Callahan? How does that work?
Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Tractor, I got a driver here, but
Okay, very good.
the dump trucks I have, me and the driver by ourselves.
So you are actually driving the dump trucks, and that's a day-to-day
Yeah.
operation. You go out in the morning and come back at night,
Yeah.
okay? The tractor trailer leaves at some point in time. Is he across the country, the tractor trailer driver?
Yep.
Okay. So he gets his loads, he leaves the site, comes back in a couple weeks,
Yep.
rests, and he's back on the road again.
Yeah, about 2 months. He usually stays out for about 2 months.
Okay. So now you get this shop. You want to build a shop there. Is it a shop for maintenance of your dump trucks, tires? Are you guys doing that work? Same way with the tractor trailer?
Yeah.
Okay. So not only do you want to store the tractor trailer in there, you want the opportunity to maintain your equipment.
Yeah, like in the winter, rain time, and stuff like that.
Okay. Are you using your dump trucks in the winter?
Only the park.
Okay, so you park them?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, the driver's driving year round.
Excuse me?
You're across the road truck driver.
Yeah.
He's year round.
Yeah.
Very good.
Any other discussion? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
I'm not entirely opposed to change of zoning. You know, I see that the location on Chrysler Avenue, in the spirit of the comprehensive plan, it being a major road, you know, it's appropriate to have commercial, industrial development, and all for development and entrepreneurship in our town. 100% commend you on that. The concern is, you know, Tower Avenue is a residential property, so I will vote yes for the change of zoning, but I would like further considerations to be in place that, you know, you're not hooking a wide turn, you know, onto Tower Avenue, and that the concerns expressed by some of the neighbors on Tower Avenue, you know, is understood and appreciated, and you access the main corridor for, you know, traveling.
Thank you, Joe. Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
So, yeah, let me explain. So I'm going to vote no. The reason I'm going to vote no is I'm having an issue with the erosion of residential property and us voting for residential property to be changed to commercial. We just spoke, a gentleman just presented about a motorcycle shop in the middle of a residential property and the issues that's caused. So that's my only issue, other than Mr. Sarju.
That whole strip is commercial and DOT right behind us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you seem like you run a great business, and you seem like a really nice guy, and your neighbors like you, and I appreciate that. That's just my only issue. So I'm going to vote no on that, on this. So, but if it passes, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Mrs. Collins?
Vote yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes.
Correct.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yes. Best of luck.
Resolution 189 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To recognize the introduction of introductory local law blank of 2024 to amend Chapter 270 zoning of the town code to reduce the allowable building height in the Main Street Neighborhood Center MS/NC overlay district, declare lead agency, and referring same to the Planning Commission for report and recommendation.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. That concludes our resolution. I know.
She's good.
That concludes our resolutions for this evening. We now move on to the order on our agenda. Ms. Marco, will you please read it?
1.24, to approve an order calling a public hearing on the joint increase and improvement of facilities of Water District Number 3 and Water District Number 4, each in the town of Rotterdam, Schenectady County, New York.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to start a discussion on this. So where does this project stem from? It stems back going 2 years when we came in on the board. We did a presentation down in the junction for our first meeting in May as the board, and it's not this board here, it's the prior board, was land-based in Rotterdam Junction by the residents down there. And the failure of previous boards of not paying attention to Rotterdam Junction, specifically the water system, being in disrepair. Vivid in my mind was the fire chief bringing a box of rocks and saying to us that, how can the system run with all these rocks, that can blow out of a hydrant and damage their equipment. Why do they have all these dead-end water mains that go back to the 50s that are 2-inch and, they have 10 to 12 homes, serviced by them, and neighbors have to call each other to say, hey, you're taking showers right now, I don't have any water pressure, could you back off? So we listened. We looked and said, hey, we should check into these issues. We commissioned an engineering report. We found out, yes, the town, a little remiss in our duties in Rotterdam Junction relative to their water system. As part of that, we didn't even have an idea where some of their valves are down in their system. So we commissioned some work down there. We did an asset management and an audit down there to locate all their valves, to actually look at every hydrant that's down there and get an assessment. We found out like 25% of their hydrants don't even work down there. That's not a good deal. We looked into some of the water main issues down in the junction, specifically, basically from the bridge up to the fire department. The town has a safety project that they have a grant for down there. That includes new sidewalks, improvements to the road, bike path. During that investigation, it was determined that the drainage is extremely poor in that section. In addition to that, as part of the drainage improvements, there was a determination made that there's old asbestos cement pipe that's in the way of drainage improvements down there. We worked with the consultants, and we approved a resolution for $1.2 million of the town's ARPA money to put towards Rotterdam Junction and the improvements to the water system. The consultants came back to us, I'm going to say probably January, and might even been back in November, December, updating their estimates and told us that, geez, the estimate we gave you to upgrade that water main is low now. We need some more money. The board approved a resolution that allowed us to go to congressional spending. So we just recently put in an application to the Senator Gillibrand to see if we can't pick up some more grant money for that project. In addition to that, we applied and are trying to apply for a WEA grant. So our consultant did a study in the junction. There was feedback that we got 2 years ago that says, why are we punishing Rotterdam Junction relative to O&M cost? And could we look at consolidating Rotterdam Junction with Water District number 5 up here on the hill? We commissioned a study. We looked at it as well. So out of the study came roughly about $8.6 million worth of improvements that are required down in Rotterdam Junction. Right now the funding is terrific for grants for these type of projects. In addition to that, we're working with Rotterdam Junction right now on a lead and copper study that's required by EPA. That's an older water system down there. We're trying to remove lead from the water system. So in the last 2+ years, I believe that the town has paid very good attention to Rotterdam Junction. And yes, Kelly, I'm very familiar with the water rates that are down in Rotterdam Junction. The board in the last 2 years, again, has done our best to lower O&M costs down there, to reduce the cost of water down in Rotterdam Junction, specifically relative to the operation and maintenance and getting that number down. Debt service in Rotterdam Junction consists of 2 types of debt that you're still paying for, the original water storage tank, and in Water District 4, they're still paying for their share of the extension for Water 4. That debt still goes on, I think, for another roughly 8 years. So a decision is going to be made, because this is for a public hearing, okay, to discuss the debt that could be incurred. And the map planning report that was done for this will be presented at the next board meeting in Rotterdam Junction, so that the residents of Rotterdam Junction can come out and then tell the board, hey, you know, we love this idea, it's too expensive. We understand that, but our only opportunity is to go out there and get the best money that we can for Rotterdam Junction, and that's with a WEA grant that pays up to over 60% of the cost of the improvements. And the engineering report that'll be presented will give the residents the cost as part of a map planning report. By town law, we're required to tell you what is the maximum cost to be expended, roughly $8.6 million. Is there any grant associated with it? We don't know that because we have to apply for it, but there's finance scenarios that are done that give residents, hey, if it's a loan only, at market rate, a loan only, subsidized financing, hardship, 0%, what the impact's going to be, and then it gives you a scenario that's hardship with 0% interest, but the 60% grant. With that information, we're going to be asking the residents in the water system down there to let us know, should the town be moving forward with a water project in Rotterdam Junction to address all those issues that were brought to our attention 2 years ago.
Is there any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. We'll now move on to liaison reports. Do any of the board members have anything they wish to say under liaison?
Molly, I have a few. As far as energy, this team continues to do a great job. The draft code is completed by the committee, and it's been reviewed by the town engineer. Tomorrow, we'll review it with the town attorney, and then the town board in early May will hope to bring it to public hearing by the end of May. So there's so much work that goes into this, and kudos to this committee. Again, I just want to make note that all of these committees are volunteers, and they have an enormous amount of time in this. We have so many events. We just had a Kiwanis cleanup. A lot of the board members were there, and the whole community came out, so that was really well done. It was nice to see a lot of our young people there. Opening day for girls softball at Unis Esposito Park is going to be this Saturday, April 27th. On May 4th, a Hamburg Street Carnival with food and games from 12 to 4. And then on the 7th of May will be the Rotterdam Youth Law Day. And May 9th, we'll have a ribbon cutting for Stack and Store. So there's an awful lot of good things going on in our community, really to be really proud of.
Yes.
Anyone else under liaison?
Miscellaneous.
Okay. How about under miscellaneous?
Let's see, miscellaneous, look to address some of the public comment. Mr. Fox, which is not here anymore, but we are aware of Lynn Street. We will reach out to our code people tomorrow, and we'll see where we stand relative to the house in question at 2188. We could also follow up with the cycle shop and, again, address the concerns of the people that are in the neighborhood, and hopefully we get some compliance from them relative to the bikes. As far as Mr. Stoddard, once again, we are aware of noise level at the car wash there, and the issue there obviously is it's not continuous. They come and go, but yes, we do need, in my mind, need to enforce, especially during the day, which is not very easy to do, a noise ordinance relative to people just trying to do business down on Altamont Avenue. And I can empathize with the owners of the businesses that are in that area, that it's extremely obnoxious when people have speakers with basses turned up 100% and banging, and the walls in your building vibrate. It's unacceptable, and we thank them for coming to us and asking for some sort of resolution on that, because it is justified in my mind. With that, that's all I have.
Anyone else under miscellaneous? Okay. I have a statement that I'd like to read. It's a summary of what the town has done with the Super 8 enforcement. On July 18, 2023, a group of approximately 183 migrants/asylum seekers arrived at the Super 8 motel pursuant to a one-year contract between Super 8 and New York City. DocGo administers the contract for New York City. The town attorney and the town supervisor, as well as the deputy town supervisor, met to discuss arrival of the migrants/asylum seekers in the town. During that discussion, the town considered their legal options related to the migrants, asylum seekers, and the Super 8 motel. The town considered all legal avenues and strategies at that time. It was decided that for the safety of everyone staying at the hotel, the town code enforcement officials needed to perform an inspection of the premises for fire safety and code compliance. A fire inspection was performed at the Super 8 motel on July 18, 2023. Fire safety issues were identified and a notice of violation was issued to the Super 8 on July 21, 2023. The notice of violation stipulated compliance by August 1st, 2023. The owner worked with the town thereafter to remedy the fire safety violations identified at the property. The second notice of violation was issued on August 1st, 2023 for zoning code violations. A compliance date was given on August 15th, 2023 for the second notice of violation. Thereafter, the town and the motel owner maintained contact regarding the Super 8 motel to address any fire or health and safety issues at the motel. In October of 2023, the town was advised that there were complaints of bed bugs at the Super 8 motel. The town inspected the rooms they were allowed to inspect on October 26th and returned on October 28th with a search warrant and made a full inspection of the Super 8 motel. Infestation was identified during the inspection and a notice of violation was issued on November 3rd. The hotel complied with the notice of violation and obtained continuous treatment of affected rooms within the hotel. The hotel has continued to treat the hotel for infestation on an ongoing basis since the notice of violation was issued. The town maintained contact with the hotel, DocGo, and New York City thereafter to address any concerns the town had relating to the Super 8 hotel. In February of 2024, there was a fire alarm at the hotel, which was the result of a false alarm. The hotel worked diligently with the town to provide whatever documentation and inspections of the fire alarm system that the town requested of them related to the false alarm. In March of 2024, there was another fire alarm at the hotel, which was also a result of a false alarm. While on the premises, town code enforcement officials and town volunteer firefighters observed fire safety issues as well as sanitation issues in a few select rooms of the hotel. A search warrant was obtained and town code enforcement made a more thorough investigation of the premises on March 22nd, 24. As a result of that inspection, a notice of violation was issued on April 1st. The hotel, DocGo, and New York City have worked diligently with the town to address the notice of violation and the concerns of the volunteer firefighters related to that inspection and notice of violation. The hotel, DocGo, and New York City have been cooperative with the town in ensuring the individuals living in the hotel are being housed in a safe and healthy manner and continue to cooperate with the town in this regard.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
That concludes our business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. I heard him first. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.